Effective communication requires a lot of humility. And I think that it is this lack of humility that has a lot of people getting stuck at passive aggressive stages, at silent treatment stages, at dwadlarang mkhacha stages. I don't know how to translate that into English. But ukdwadla mkhacha is, when someone is pissed off and kind of thing. And, yeah, but the attitude is in the physicality. But we get stuck there because a lot of us refuse to have the humility required in order for us to move forward in our relationships, in our work environments, in our families, etc., etc. And I recently met a young Israeli man, and we had such a wonderful discussion. And none of us agreed with the other's perspectives. Of course, there were places where we found some common ground, but I found it so wonderful how we're able to have what currently could be considered a very challenging conversation. But what I appreciated about him and about myself during that interaction is firstly the self respect that everyone holds for themselves, and thus a respect that extends to other people. And thus, when you are in a conversation, particularly a difficult one, there is the acceptance that in this conversation I will be uncomfortable. So when you accept that that is going to be part of the conversation, is that you're going to be uncomfortable. So it goes without saying that why I say humility is what is required. But we had a wonderful conversation, and he's a singer by trade, and also sang for us, which was really wonderful. And I know that this is such a perhaps inflammatory thing for other people to hear. How can she even associate? Well, it's not about association, it's that I met somebody, and my curiosity and my interest in what is happening allowed me to have the humility to say, I am going to speak with this person from a place of respect, as I do with everybody. But I do struggle, obviously, like many people, with the Israeli conversation. And so for me, it was really wonderful to meet someone young who, so that was wonderful. But in terms of personal relationships, because really this is my focus all of the time, personal relationships that starts with you as the individual, and then translates to everybody else, filters out to everybody else. But I know that a lot of us were raised in families where we don't speak when things are wrong, we don't share when we have upset each other, we just kind of let time pass and then everybody carries on, which is not healthy. And this is why a lot of us are in such unhappy friendships, unhappy work environments, unhappy romantic relationships, and why in general, look at social media, why it operates the way that it does. It's hella hot. Hello, Cape Town. So we lose so much of what matters to us. We don't get to explore relationships and friendships to their fullness because of that lacking of humility. Now, with everything that I talk about, I always say this. It goes without saying that all of my talkings are speaking to situations that I'm not talking about toxic environments where someone is beating someone up and you must be the first to speak up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where a couple, friendship, whatever, you've had a misunderstanding and you don't have all the answers. Instead of just like, screw it, I'm not going to speak to them, whatever it might be, you actually think, you know what? This matters to me, because what I find about communication is that it's not so much about the other person, it's about me. I always have a lot of questions. I call myself the why child. Like, until I fully understand something, I can't be okay. And because of that need to understand, I'm always willing to sit through very uncomfortable situations and very uncomfortable conversations. Have I always been like this? Of course I have not always been like this, but as you grow up, you learn and you become better at these things, and as you enter new relationships, new friendships, new work environments, and I'm also deeply fortunate. about the fact that I'm a healer. I do that work. And so I am consistently, in many ways, being trained to have challenging conversations in a loving way. So, what I'm not one to advise, but what I will share, which has worked out for me and which I see working out for a lot of people, is that when you and your partner are disagreeing, or you and your friend have a disagreement, let time cool off, absolutely, if that must be so, but talk about it. Don't let a friendship end because you couldn't talk about it, that you didn't ask those questions, that you just assumed that it means this, you were so angry you just walked away. Don't let your marriage end just because you won't have a difficult conversation. And equally, don't let little conversations pile up until they're impossible conversations. There's this wonderful thing in it's a Japanese counseling, like marital counseling, couples therapy. I don't know if it's like a psychological thing or if, and this is so unlike me to be so unclear. But anyway, it's a Japanese approach to relationships, and from what I understand, it's that it's used a lot in counseling, but outside of counseling, it's advised in general that when a couple has a tiff, a little disagreement that gets very heated, that you don't immediately discuss it. You first sit in silence together, which I think is so beautiful. It's so beautiful because I have always benefited so much from being silent a little bit with my partner. I often do that with friends and my partner, where I will say, darling, I'm simply not capacitated right now to have this conversation. Could we please just have it later? I do that a lot. My niece will tell you I do that a lot because I always want my communication, every conversation that I have. Of course, I can't always control this, but where I can, I want it to be loving. I want it to be full of the respect. I have been in situations where I say the wrong thing, where I lose my shit, and I have regretted how it turned out. And every time where I had enough humility to actually hear the person out or to just ask for a bit more time, it always worked out so splendidly. And it does not guarantee that all, things won't end, but what I have found is that even endings become quite beautiful, and people part on such beautiful terms. So humble yourself. If right now there's a difficult conversation that you need to have, if it's a relationship you want to save, it's a friendship you want to salvage, send a message. And don't do passive aggressive communication. Just say, I am so sorry for my part in this. May we please talk?